This program, like, it's changed my life and have counseled for years, and it didn't change anything for me. You're not for everybody, but you were for me. I have an understanding now about myself.
So Stacy, tell me, why did you reach out in the first place to work with me? What was going on in your life before you started working with us at the Cycle Breaker portal?
So initially, I had gone through a divorce right at just a little over a year ago. I felt like I had worked through a lot of that on my own and had been doing okay. But then I started dating a guy. We dated for about 7 months and felt like I'd finally met my person and finally felt loved for the very first time in my life. And when I ended that relationship for some very small reasons that could not seem to be worked out, and he didn't fight for me, it brought up all the things from childhood, as I learned through this program, is what it brought up. I broke up with him for good reasons. Like there was reasons, nothing, I mean, he wasn't a cheater or anything like that, but there were just things that weren't where we weren't compatible.
You weren't getting your needs met.
Right. But when he didn't fight for me, fight to keep me, that's when I lost it. That's when I feel like my anxious attachment style came out that I was not aware of.
How would you describe your state in 3 or 4 different words before you began with us?
I've always had anxiety, but this was like over the top anxiety. I mean, I just literally just cried all day, every day. I felt like it led to a lot of depression as well. I mean, it consumed my mind. It was probably my lowest. Like I didn't want to live. Like it got that bad. Like I just wanted, now when I think back about that day, it's like, I just wanted this to stop. I just wanted everything that was going through my mind to stop. And the only thing I could think of that day was I just didn't want to live anymore because my mind, I'm an overthinker. Like my mind was what was getting the best of me. But like this program, like it's changed my life. Like I know I still have a lot of work to do, but man, and like I'm the kind of person that, man, when I zone in on something, like I just dive in. Like I was desperate when I found you. I was desperate, and so that's the mentality I've had in doing this work. That people in my life, like they just cannot believe the change that has happened with me, because they, like my parents and my kids, like they knew what it looked like for me the day that I no longer wanted to live. And the 180 that has happened to me, it's like, thank God.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Stacy, can you tell me why did you choose to start working with me in the first place? Why me over somebody else?
It's kind of like I've heard you talk before, like my whole adult life, I've gone to counselors, and a lot of them were always Christian counselors, where all we did was talk therapy. And I think initially some of those are good because it gets it out, it gets it acknowledged, whatever. But none of them were doing any good. Like talking, like if one more therapist, counselor, whatever, asked me one more time, well, how does that make you feel? I swear I was going to punch somebody in the face. Because I mean, it doesn't change shit. It obviously, I'm 52 and have counseled for years, and it didn't change anything for me. And I knew, I mean, when I hit the point that I hit after my last breakup, I knew I needed something bigger, something deeper, something with practical things, somebody who wasn't just gonna just give me fluff, somebody that wasn't just gonna tickle my ears and tell me what I needed to hear or wanted to hear. Like I needed your type personality that wasn't gonna bullshit me through it, who was gonna be honest with me. And so that's what, I mean, because of course I started, I dove in trying to find what I need. I wasn't sure what I needed when I started doing research, but I knew I kept coming across trauma bonds and attachment styles. And everything I kept looking up kept coming back to your program, along with some others, but I kept being drawn back to yours, and just your style, the way you come across. And it's like you said, you're not for everybody, but you were for me. You were for me.
Beautiful.
Take it like so.
So what happened during the time we worked together? What breakthroughs or epiphanies can you remember that were relevant for you, that you realized kind of changed things around for you?
For me, I think so far, just the simple awareness of everything, the simple awareness of the trauma bonds that that were caused as a child with my parents, the things that I didn't get from them. And then when I was molested by an uncle, and from all of that, like I didn't get emotional support from my parents. I had a very, 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 very controlling dad. And then, so my parents were there monetarily, financially and all of that, but they weren't there emotionally. I was never told I loved you. I don't remember being hugged. I don't remember, I wasn't seen. I wasn't heard. I wasn't validated. We were told how to think, how to feel, what to say, what to do, when to sit, when to smile. We were told everything. And so we were never told when we did good. We were only told when we did bad. And so just a simple awareness of a lot of this has changed things for me.
Sounds like you've dissolved a lot of the shame and the guilt, because
Yes.
you were able to see, because kind of the training that we do, we take you through the entire process of what a child needs and what happens when we don't get those needs met, and the natural result of them. Kind of sounds like you had a lot of your behaviors and experiences just validated through the work itself.
Yes, absolutely. I was able to see why I behaved the way I did in relationships, because I thought, never will I marry a man that can control me the way my dad did. So yeah, a lot of the shame and stuff all completely dissolved and went away. So that was huge for me. I have an understanding now about myself, so I've been able to let myself off the hook with a lot of things. But I also feel like now I can look at other people with more empathy and understanding. I see the world differently now. And so just the simple awareness of all of it and the understanding has just been so big for me.
What would you say is the biggest win for you, if you can look back?
My anxiety was so bad, over the top bad.
I remember when you first began and how everything was just, oh my gosh, am I going to miss anything? And it was like, you're going to get it. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah,
you're going to be good.
I would wake up with anxiety. I'd go to bed with anxiety. It controlled me literally. And now I just have my anxiety since starting this program, probably a month into it, I guess, maybe. It started lessening immediately, but I would say since about a month into it, I have had zero anxiety. None. That's huge for me. I was on Xanax, I was on depression medication. I didn't want to live. I don't think I'd have ever had the balls to do anything to myself, but I sure thought about it that night. I don't honestly, if my kids hadn't have come found me that night because they knew I was talking crazy, I don't know what I would have done. I just wanted this to stop.
Wow.
My mind to stop.
Wow. I am so grateful that you went the other way and jumped in and worked and had the courage to trust your intuition and, have me guide you into opening up a different relationship within yourself. And you're still here. You feel so different in talking, that was amazing. How do you feel now in 3 or 4 different words in comparison?
I feel lighter. I feel in control of my thoughts, my nervous system, which I don't even know what that meant when you would talk about that. What is that? What does that mean? I'm stubborn, I'm prideful and strong-willed, but now I'm using it for a better purpose. I'm using it to set my boundaries, to protect my peace. Now I'm a more peaceful person. I will say I am in a new relationship that just started about 5 weeks ago. He's a chiropractor. The one thing,
Interesting. You're now in a relationship.
yeah.
Cool.
One thing I will say that's different is I'm super guarded, and I've never been. Usually, I jump in a relationship, both feet throwing caution to the wind.
You're taking things a little slower, because a true relationship that's secure kind of goes, it doesn't go too fast. You know, there's a pacing to it, right? And it sounds like you're taking it instead of like the old way, which is, succumb to the love bombing. You're now just like, hey, let's go slow.
Yeah, no rush. And he's a secure person. He thought he was to begin with, and I did too. And he took the test, and that's what he came up with, was secure. And so I'm not used to being with someone that's secure either. And so like, he's so okay with things that most men that I've dated aren't okay with. And I'm like, what? You're okay with that? Okay.
Feels different.
It's very different.
Feels safe rather than like highly intense.
Yeah.
And anxiety producing. There isn't any of that.
Yeah, I have no anxiety with him at all. None.
Amazing.
Like, I even feel like unconsciously I have, because I've told him the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. Like, because we do have some miles between us. And so I don't want to waste his time if it's not going to be something that's going to work out, because we're long distance. And like, some things I've told him, I feel like, I don't think I meant to do it in the moment, but I feel like afterwards, I feel like, did I tell him that to see if he would run? Maybe I did. Yes.
You're becoming more of a secure person.
Yes, I am. I have said that. Like, I mean, I said it to myself, and it's like, whoa, who am I now? And it feels great. Yeah. And he operates in his masculine and feminine energy. And I've never had that before. Most guys I've been with have always just been in their feminine energy. So I've always had to operate in my masculine, which I think has a lot to do with my upbringing, because my dad was so masculine. I mean,
from a wound, usually. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's from a wound. Stacey, what would you say to somebody who's watching this and they're like, I'm not sure. Is it safe to dive in and do the work with Nima? What would you say to somebody who's like on the fence and they can relate to your story, but they're just not sure? What would you say to them?
Like you said, the reason you can't is the reason you must. I mean, like, you got to make a way. Like, I was so desperate in that moment. I didn't have the money, but I knew I had to find a way. Like, I knew in my gut that you were the one to help me. And so I'm the kind of person where there's a will, there's a way. Like, I will make it happen. I will figure it out somehow, some way. And like, I knew, like, I felt like my life literally depended on this program. I don't know that I would still be here had I not found your program.
That means a lot. I love what I do, and this is why. It's worth all the hassle and the difficulty and the haters, and because it's not conventional.
Yeah, like I love that. I love that you don't give two shits about what people say. That you still plow through, and that you do it to help people like me. I'm sure it's hard on your family, your wife, and your son, because I realize this is like a huge dedication for you. And like, man, I love them for allowing you to do this.
I couldn't do it without them. I'm very, very, very grateful for them, and they're part of this. So thank you for saying that. And I really appreciate you for all the wonderful things that you're saying, and who you've become as a result of really allowing yourself to be guided by me, because it's my zone of joy and genius to do this. So people who really see it and they receive my guidance, it's like my holy grail.
Well, and I've grown up in the church, and so of course I've had family and friends that was like encouraging me to find a Christian program, and that was my goal too when I first started looking. And that's not really like your stand or whatever, but I just knew that God led me to your program. I knew that He was using you as a vessel, and so
In
Right.
fact, whatever you come in with is great. My work is to get you deeply connected with that on an embodied level.
Right.
That tell me if I'm right or wrong here, but your faith in Christ is even strengthened through this work.
Absolutely.
So
Because, you know,
every Christian, every Muslim, every Baha'i, every Jew has told me the same thing, is that this work has made me even more faithful.
yeah.
And I'm
because
like,
it's
cool,
you.
because you're healing at a body-based level.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you. I'm so very grateful for you.